Hello everyone, and welcome to our circle and Salve Women. Today is interview day, so you are going to be listening in on some invaluable information of things to know before going in for a tattoo. Now, we are going to interview Nicole, a longtime tattoo artist, who will be sharing with us her words of wisdom and pure knowledge of not only the types of tattoos to consider, but some important factors that you may not have ever thought of that you would really want to prepare for mentally, so that you could go in with the right mind going in for that tattoo that you have always wanted or perhaps have thought of. So I cannot wait to share this interview with you. Let's go ahead and get started, and let's listen in on what Nicole has to say. Thank you for being here. So we're going to be discussing about people who are getting their tattoo for the first time. So obviously the first question is, what should a person getting a tattoo for the first time expect?
What they're going to expect is they don't need to have that fear of a punctuation of an injury. It's not like a hypodermic needle. It's a burning, dragging sensation. We're not going all the way through your epidermis. We're only going through the first 3 layers. So people get really worked up. And when they get worked up, they tend to have adverse reactions because their sugar dips, they burn through their sugar resources, and their blood pressure changes, and then weird things happen. I always tell people when they're getting their first tattoo, if you need to sit up, stand up, need a break, need to use the bathroom, anything, you tell me. That's because really if you puke, or if you pass out and fall out of my chair, we're going to laugh at you. So that's my advice.
That's a nice way to calm them down. Oh, that's
it works
great.
Actually.
Absolutely.
And I expect people definitely they need to eat before they come in for their first tattoo.
Really?
Because your blood sugar can really change.
Yeah.
And you can have a crisis.
That is good to know.
Yep.
Really good. Okay. Wow. That's really good. So then question 2, in your opinion, what age should be the earliest to get a tattoo and why?
23.
Ooh, that magic number. Why 23?
There is a huge level of development physically and mentally and emotionally between 18 and 23. I'm not saying that an 18-year-old cannot go out and get their first tattoo on their birthday. I'm just saying that you're more likely to regret something that you've done between the ages of 18 and 23 than 23 and up, because you've changed mentally over time. And that thing that you thought was terribly impressive or terribly a good idea when you were 18, you look back at it when you're 25 and you're like, why did I do that? That was really dumb.
Right. So. And I'm only laughing because I get it.
It's
you know,
true.
it's so true. And when you pass that age, you can look back and go, you are so right.
Yeah.
So 23 is that magic number. Wow. Good one. And so what one type, next question, of tattoo would you advise people to think about first before actually getting one?
Names. Names are a curse. They are legitimately a curse.
Could you like elaborate on that a little bit, or tell us some stories? Of course, not naming any names, but telling us some stories.
It's a well-known fact in the tattoo industry that names are a curse. And my husband has my name on him backwards to negate the curse. If you get your name of your dog or your kid or your parent, nobody cares, but your significant other. Sometimes I think it's a Hail Mary in a relationship. Right. And there's relationships that they've been together for 12 years and somebody gets a name tattooed on them and they're Splitsville in 6 months.
Oh yeah. Wow.
I had an 18-year-old girl come in a couple years ago, and I very much tried to talk her out of getting her boyfriend's name. And I remember being very skeptical because her boyfriend wasn't trying to get her name on him. So I tried. I very much tried. And she came in about 6 months later, and she wanted to cover up, and she wouldn't look me in the eye.
Right.
And when she was just about to leave, she popped her head back in the door and said, "You were right. I'm always right." So, yeah. Well, be very cautious of names, and be very cautious of what we call job stoppers, which are hand tattoos, face tattoos, or front of neck tattoos.
That's really good. Yes.
younger, impressionable youth often don't realize that it literally impacts your ability to become gainfully employed. And it doesn't even matter almost what the subject matter is. They look at the fact that your hands can't be covered, your face can't be covered, and the front of your neck can't be covered.
Wow.
And you become unemployable.
Yeah.
So a lot of us in the shop, if you don't have a lot of tattoos, if you're young, we're not too keen to tattoo your hands or your face.
Wow. I actually remember a person who tried out or applied for as a fitness instructor, and believe it or not, they weren't hired because of the tattoos that was showing just within their body. And you would think, wow, as a fitness instructor,
changed so much over the years. I don't get stared at like I'm a circus creature anymore. But hands and faces are still a really hard sell.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Wow. Okay. Well, we have actually arrived to our very last question, and that is, this is for you. Fill in whatever you feel coming from your heart and your experience and your expertise of what you think you should add for anyone who's thinking about getting a tattoo.
I think if you get a tattoo and it's something that you have thought of for a very long time, it's something that you know is important to you. You know, it's not something that's necessarily a fad. It's not something you necessarily picked off of a wall someplace. That it's really going to help for the longevity of your tattoo and for your want to keep it over a long period of time.
Right.
I think that people need to be very cautious when they look for tattoos on Pinterest, because tattoos on the inside of your fingers, they don't last. And none of those pictures that you see, they're not new. I mean, they are new. They're not healed tattoos. They're brand new or they're photoshopped.
Gotcha.
And what people don't realize is that they don't fade altogether. They think, oh, it's just going to fade. It's going to look fine, but they fade in chunks.
So could you tell us why that's so?
It's just a complete mystery.
Gotcha.
It depends on how often you wash your hands.
I was thinking that.
It depends on what you do with your hands.
Got it.
Depends on your cellular turnover. You know, like I hold hand tattoos pretty good.
Okay.
But some people don't hold hand tattoos at all. And there's just do they wear gloves at work? Do they wash their hands a lot? It just depends on what they do with their hands.
Got it.
And when it heals chunky, what I mean is some spots are going to look like they're really still there, and some spots aren't going to look there at all, and it's going to look like you got it done in somebody's basement.
Wow.
So I would be very cautious with the inside of hands, and also the inside of lips. They don't stay at all, and it's just gross. Don't do that to your tattoo artist.
Is there a lot of people still get that done?
Thankfully, no, but it does occasionally happen.
Is that very painful? It's has anyone said or do you know the most painful area? Well, I guess obviously I'm assuming, there's certain parts that obviously have the most sensitivity, but
it's a really easy way to sum up the most sensitivity of pain.
Please.
Your joints.
Yes.
Your armpit, your elbow, the ditch, just the inside of your elbow, your wrists, your knees, the back of your knees, your ankles, your feet. Any place where you have joints is usually where it's going to be the most painful, especially those parts that don't see sun so much, you know?
Yeah.
And my really good rule of thumb is if it hurts to pop a zit there, it's going to hurt to get a tattoo there.
That's a good one.
So people always ask me, did your face hurt? And I say, no. The most painful tattoo I have is hilarious because I am covered in tattoos.
Yes.
And it is tiny. And every time I show somebody, they laugh because they're like, why would it be that? Why would that be the most? But it was definitely the most painful tattoo I had.
See, that is good to know because honestly, my first one would be people go, your genitalia, right?
Oh, yeah, obviously.
You know? And that, obviously. But I'm assuming that then the joints, I never thought about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Brutal. That is really good to know. And I bet you some people would have never predicted that at all.
Oh.
So why is it? Because there's more nerves there?
It's the nerve, and I think it's just the skin is a little bit different because it's action skin.
Gotcha.
So this stuff's pretty tough, and it sees the sun all the time. Your elbow's still awful because there's bone. There's nothing there but bone. But this, it doesn't see the sun, and it's a kind of thinner action skin because it moves all the time. It needs that mobility.
Got it.
Also, if you want to get your ribs done, if you're brave enough to get your ribs done,
You're
your ribs
kidding.
do hurt. They do hurt.
Yeah. Well, because it's thinner surface, right?
It's not even just a thinner surface. I think it's just where it is. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So your right side is where your liver is.
Okay.
Your liver has no nerves in it.
Oh.
But it makes up for it by having the tissue around your liver heavily innervated. So if you're going to go get a rib tattoo, I know professional full-grown tattoo artists who have just the outline on their right side and they don't have anything filled in because it hurts.
Wow.
So it's something to consider when you're getting a
That's
tattoo.
a really good consideration. That is awesome. You are so knowledgeable, and I'm thinking all of this information you're providing. Is there anything that is coming to mind right now before we end this interview where you think, oh, I forgot to add this? Because I know from just talking to you that you obviously don't just tattoo whatever someone asks you to do. You really are a tattoo artist,
definitely.
wearing your heart up your sleeve. And so other than the name, have there been other nightmares, you think, or where someone had to stop getting their tattoo because they changed their mind? I mean, what would be like a story for you that you would think that really comes to mind that you can recall has happened? Or that maybe you weren't the artist yourself, but you saw someone else?
I would think that, I know that years and years ago when I was pregnant with my youngest child, I didn't have the upper body and the strength and the torque that I need to hold somebody down.
Got you.
And I had a person come to me and tell me that he wanted a skull and a snake coming out of its mouth.
Yes.
And I told him this was a terrible idea because I don't personally use numbing agents. They tend to swell the skin.
Mm-hmm.
I will use like back tracing if I'm really far into a tattoo and somebody needs it, but you have to have the skin broken first for back tracing to work.
Could you explain that?
So back tracing is a skin number that's used for first aid, like in first aid antiseptic. It
Gotcha.
will give you some minor numbing ability.
Got it.
But
like topical numbing?
Yeah, exactly. So,
Okay.
but your skin has to be broken first for it to work. So you use it usually like if you had a long tattoo that was 5 or 6 hours and somebody was dying in hour 4.
Yes.
You could spray them with back tracing. You could put plastic wrap over it, wait for 10, 15 minutes, take it off, and then go back to tattoo them, and it's a little bit easier on them.
Makes sense. Okay.
But so this man wanted this design, and I told him it was a terrible idea and he wasn't going to be able to sit through it because besides the fact that this is a job stopper, it's also incredibly painful. It was just a nightmare tattoo.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
Because he was moving.
Right.
And I didn't have the upper body ability that I usually had to be able to
Oh my
like.
goodness.
Usually, like I lift weights and I will literally put my weight down on somebody
Yes.
so they can't scoot around and move.
But you
on
were
me.
pregnant. Yes.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that was probably the stupidest tattoo that I ever had to do.
Did you finish it?
Oh yeah.
Regardless.
I
Good for
finished
you.
it. It was
Look
awful.
at yeah. Wow. Wow. But you
It
persevered.
was awful. And now I'm here. I'm a much more experienced tattoo artist, and you come to me with something really like absolutely ridiculous, and I'm going to tell you it's a bad idea and say no.
That's
But
awesome.
at the time, I was a much newer artist, and I was like, I guess I have to do this, and
Right.
I no longer have that mindset.
You have that
I don't
comfort
have to do
zone now.
shit.
Well, that shows your expertise because you can give your advice based off of your, what you've done in the past,
Yeah.
and that's really helpful for those who again can be very impulsive.
Yeah.
And you've had many impulses where people come in and say, "I want a tattoo." What do you do with people that are impulsive about their tattoos?
You see it all the time. There's lots of people who say, I just wanted to come in and get a tattoo today. And generally that's not a problem.
Right.
And like, especially if they have a collection of tattoos already and they just want something small and quick and fun.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. You're going to die anyways.
Yes.
So what does it matter if you're decorated before you go?
Yeah.
But I think sometimes you're going to see a harder impulse control if you see a younger person generally, and they're going to think something's a good idea that is definitely not a good idea. Stars on your face is not a good idea. Just because a SoundCloud rapper does it doesn't mean that you're supposed to do it.
Yes. You wear yours beautifully. And now, when you are dealing with people who are coming in, how long does it take them to discuss I'm assuming there's a contract or something that they have to sign as a waiver? Is there any type of steps as they walk in to get a tattoo that they have to be mindful of?
You have to be mindful of. Walk-ins are always first come, first serve.
Got it.
And so even if you've called on the phone, if you haven't come in and left us money, you have not guaranteed your spot.
Gotcha.
That's
Makes
a great
sense.
sound in the background.
Makes sense. I know, right? Absolutely. We have some background. Beautiful noise.
And I would think that something else to be mindful of is your artist's time and ability to get things done.
How long does it usually take for just a small one versus a big one?
It depends on your artist. Some
Gotcha.
artists
That makes
are
sense.
super fast. Some
Makes
artists
sense.
set up fast. Some artists tattoo fast.
Yeah.
Some artists set up slow. Some artists tattoo slow.
That makes sense
depends on the
because the body is a canvas. It takes a while sometimes. So what would you say is an average usually that a person should anticipate being on a seat?
You could sit anywhere from 5 minutes to hours.
Wow.
And it depends on subject matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
If you want a heart, you're going to sit for 3.5 minutes.
Gotcha.
And that's the setup and the breakdown. You
Right.
know? But if you're getting an eagle with a flag on your chest, it's going to take significantly more time.
Okay. Have you ever had someone come in and change their mind? The next day and say, I meant to do this, and then you go, no, you should know, you've ever had issues like that where you've had a unsatisfied or someone who just said, I want this instead of that, like last,
You do get revisions.
Got you.
Sometimes you'll get revisions in your design phase, and
Got
you get
it.
people that change things over and over and over again.
Yes.
It doesn't happen very often for me. I am lucky like that. I'm pretty good at reading what people want.
Good.
You very rarely do you have somebody who says, this isn't how I wanted this to go.
Good.
And usually that's just a mistake on an artist's side. It's not usually the person's doing it.
Or just more detail, right?
Or something that's misspelled is probably the most common thing that happens.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's really scary.
So
but
be
that's
sure to
not
write
common.
down what you want to have tattooed.
That is a good point. It's like a cake, right? Or anything. That's really good. Well, I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my goodness, Nicole, you're amazing. And I cannot wait to show your sweatshirt picture, a picture of your sweatshirt. And again, if you have anything else, we can add it to your bio. But other than that, I am so glad that you were able to have time with me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, there you have it, everyone. Straight from the tattoo artist herself, Nicole. Nicole, thank you so much for giving me some of your time. Just such invaluable information that you gave us, really being real about your words and the advice that you gave for those who may need to consider some of the important pointers that you pointed out that people would probably have not even thought of before going in for a tattoo. That information that you gave us surely expressed and was able to exemplify the very level of expertise you have and the knowledge base that you held in being able to give such good pointers for everyone to listen in today. I'm certain that those of you who are listening out there, you were able to take some in, if not a lot in, and really think about that tattoo you're about to get or where to get that tattoo coming from the tattoo artist's advice herself. Again, thank you, Nicole, for your time. I cannot express enough how grateful I am that I was able to interview you, and thank you for the listeners who are able to jot down some very important information today from her words. In the words of my mother, God bless us all. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.